Imagine the scene. It's late January. The wind is howling a tune you don't want to hear, rattling the windows. Outside, the world is a frozen postcard of white and gray. Inside, you're comfortable. The thermostat is set to a perfect 70 degrees. The television is murmuring in the background. The refrigerator is humming its quiet, constant song. Then it happens. A flicker. And then darkness. The TV goes silent. The refrigerator stops humming, but the most profound silence comes from the furnace. A new sound takes its place. The relentless, angry howl of the wind outside. The cold, which was just a concept on the other side of the glass, has found a way in. The first hour isn't so bad. You find some candles. But as the minutes tick by, a different kind of chill begins to set in. It's the cold realization of just how dependent you are. Every system you rely on for survival, heat, light, communication, food preservation. We've outsourced our survival to a complex grid of wires and transformers. In that moment of cold, dark silence, you are confronted with a fundamental truth. When the technology fails, you are left with only what you know and what you have. And for most of us, that's a scary thought. The modern world has made us comfortable, but it has also made us vulnerable in ways our grandparents never were. If you think a widespread, long-term power outage is something that only happens in movies, you haven't been paying attention. Remember the Texas deep freeze in 2021? A winter storm rolled across the state, the power grid buckled under the strain, millions were plunged into a 19th century reality. They had no heat, no light, no water, people burned furniture to stay warm, huddled in cars to use engine heat. Look at California, where massive wildfires are now regular. Utilities now perform public safety power shutoffs. Bottom line, the grid is aging, the weather is getting more extreme, and demand for electricity is only going up. We've become so accustomed to flipping a switch and having the lights come on that we've forgotten how to live without it. When the power goes out in the dead of winter, the danger is immediate and severe. Hypothermia can happen in your own living room when the temperature inside drops to match the temperature outside. Unpreparedness is a luxury we can no longer afford. Having a plan and a few basic supplies on hand is not being paranoid. It's taking a page from the Amish book of common sense. Now, while the rest of us are worrying about a fragile power grid, there's a whole community of people who don't give it a second thought. They don't have to. I'm talking about the Amish. For them, a power outage isn't an emergency. It's just another Tuesday. These folks have been living off-grid for centuries, not because of a disaster but by choice. They've intentionally stepped away from the public utility system, and in doing so they've become masters of self-sufficiency. They live comfortable, productive, and warm lives without a single watt of public electricity. When we think of the Amish, we often picture horse-drawn buggies and simple clothes, but we should also be picturing resilience. We should be picturing true independence. They aren't preppers stocking up for a theoretical apocalypse. They are simply living a life that is not dependent on complex, fragile systems they can't control. Their knowledge isn't stored on a hard drive, it's passed down from generation to generation. It's in the way they build their homes, the way they cook their food, the way they heat their living spaces. Their expertise in staying warm is particularly impressive. They face the same brutal winters that we do, yet they do it without a furnace, without a digital thermostat, and without an electric blanket. This isn't magic. It's a combination of time-tested technology, smart design, and good old-fashioned common sense. They hold the answers to a question many of us are just now starting to ask: how do we survive when the grid goes down? If you walk into an Amish home on a cold winter day, the first thing you'll notice is the warmth. It's not the dry, blowing heat of a furnace. It's a radiant, bone-deep warmth from the very center of the house. The heart of the Amish home is the wood stove. This isn't just a decorative fireplace, it's the primary engine of heat, the cooktop, the water heater. It's the social hub of the home, all rolled into one sturdy cast-iron box. An Amish wood stove is a model of efficiency, often large and centrally located. The main living area is built around it. Heat spreads naturally through the most used spaces. The flat top serves as a stovetop for cooking meals, simmering soups, heating large pots of water. A kettle is almost always steaming on the stove, giving hot water for washing and adding humidity to dry winter air. It's a multitasking marvel. Managing a wood stove is a skill and a daily rhythm learned from childhood. It starts with sourcing the fuel. They manage their own woodlots. They know which woods burn hot and long. Oak, hickory. The wood is cut, split, and stacked meticulously, often years in advance to season and dry. This daily ritual becomes the heartbeat of the winter household. The first person up, opens the damper, adds kindling, and brings the fire back to life. This single appliance provides warmth for the body, heat for cooking food, hot water for cleaning. It does all of this using renewable, locally sourced fuel, a completely self-contained system for winter living, reliable and low-tech. The Amish approach to staying warm goes far beyond the wood stove. It's actually baked right into the design of their homes. They build their houses with a deep, practical understanding of how heat and cold behave. You won't find sprawling, open-concept floor plans. Instead, Amish homes are often more compact, with lower ceilings and strategically placed rooms. Take a look at the windows in an Amish house. They're typically smaller and fewer in number, especially on the north side. Larger windows will be placed on the south side. This is passive solar design. On a sunny winter day, those windows let in sunlight, which warms the floors and walls. At night, heavy, insulated curtains create an extra barrier against the cold. A window is essentially a hole in your wall, and they treat it as such. Insulation is another area where they excel. They pay close attention to stopping drafts. They often use quilts, not just on their beds but as decorative wall hangings. A beautiful thick quilt hung on an exterior wall is an extra layer of insulation. It's a perfect example of how form and function come together. Every object has a purpose, and often multiple purposes. This mindset extends to the layout of the home itself. The main living area, warmed by the wood stove, is the center of activity. Bedrooms are typically on the second floor, allowing rising heat to warm them naturally. They're primarily for sleeping, and you can stay warm under heavy wool blankets and thick quilts. They heat the people, not the entire house, concentrating resources where needed most. It's a masterclass in thermal efficiency. In our modern world, when we feel cold, we walk over to the thermostat and turn up the heat. The Amish have a simpler solution. They change what they're wearing. This is a profound shift in mindset. They focus on heating the individual, not the space. They are experts in the art of layering, a technique to adapt to changing temperatures. The secret is to trap air. Layering creates pockets of air between garments, and that trapped air is an excellent insulator. Winter attire might start with a base layer followed by a work shirt, a thick wool sweater, and then a sturdy coat. The materials matter. They rely on natural fabrics like wool and cotton. Wool in particular is a miracle fiber. It continues to insulate even when it gets damp, crucial when you're working outside and sweating. This layering principle extends to their bedding. An Amish bed in winter is a formidable fortress against the cold. It will be piled high with heavy blankets and thick, handmade quilts. These quilts are masterpieces of utility, made from fabric scraps filled with wool or cotton batting, incredibly dense and heavy. Sleeping under one is like being tucked in with a weighted blanket. It traps body heat so effectively. You create your own warm microclimate right there in your bed. Even their traditional style of dress is incredibly practical for cold weather. The long dresses and bonnets worn by the women are not just about tradition. The long skirts help trap warm air around the legs. Bonnets and hats reduce heat loss from the head. Every element has been refined over generations to keep a person warm in a world without central heating. They wear their wisdom. For the Amish, staying warm isn't just about tools and techniques, it's about changing the entire rhythm of life to align with the season. The frantic energy of harvest gives way to slower, indoor-focused tasks. This work is done in a heated workshop or main living area. Activity itself is a source of heat. The Amish don't spend winters sitting idle. They are always moving, always working. This movement generates body heat. A home kept at 62 degrees feels different when you're busy with chores than when you're sitting still. Food also plays a critical role. Their winter diet is hearty and calorie-dense. Pot roasts, thick stews, freshly baked bread, potatoes, preserved vegetables. These meals are fuel. Digesting them generates internal heat. The wood stove often simmers with a pot all day, supplying warm, nourishing food. So how can you take these lessons and apply them to your own modern home? Start with creating a single warm room. Choose one room, preferably smaller with few windows. Close doors to all other rooms to contain the heat you generate. Focus on insulation and stopping drafts. Hang heavy blankets over windows and doorways. If you have a fireplace, make sure it's clean and safe. A certified indoor heater can be a lifesaver. Learn to dress for warmth inside your home. Wear a hat indoors. Don't forget shared body heat. Have everyone sleep in the same warm room. Think about non-electric resources. Stock up on supplies that don't require cooking. The key is to think through the problem before it happens. Having a plan and basic supplies is not paranoid. It's responsible. It's taking a page from the Amish Book of Common Sense. In the end, the most important lesson the Amish can teach us is not about wood stoves or quilts. It's about the power of knowledge. They can survive and thrive without the grid because they know how to. They possess skills we have largely forgotten. They know how to stay warm, grow food, build things, fix things. This knowledge gives them security and independence that no technology can replicate. We've traded that practical knowledge for convenience. We've outsourced basic survival skills to giant, anonymous systems. There's nothing wrong with that, until those systems fail. And they can and they do. When that happens, all the money and gadgets in the world are useless. The only thing that matters is what you know how to do with your own two hands. Preparing for a winter power outage isn't about becoming a hardcore survivalist. It's about relearning some basic common sense skills, understanding the principles of heat, insulation, layering, having a simple plan and essential supplies, shifting your mindset from passive dependence to active self-reliance. Take the time to learn. Practice setting up your warm room. Figure out cooking without electric stove. Let's take a lesson from folks who live this reality every day. The Amish remind us that true wealth isn't just what you own, it's what you know. They show us that a simpler way of life can be stronger and more resilient. The next time you hear the wind howl and see the lights flicker, you can feel panic or quiet confidence. The difference will be the knowledge you have and preparations you've made. Don't wait for the dark and cold. Start learning now, because knowledge, real, practical, hands-on knowledge is the only power that never fails.